And here we go, rolling the bumper. Boom, shakalaka. All right. Hello, 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 hello. Sean Brady with another fabulous Leverage Your Lunch, where we may not be eating lunch together, but man, we can sure leverage our thinking and our thoughts all around for our business and life. So today I have a fabulous guest. She's been on before. She'll be back again. The one, the only, the fabulous Meredith McPhail. Meredith, the money coach. Meredith, how you doing today?
Oh, Sean, I'm never better. And yourself?
Yes, awesome. I'm just
Very
doing
good.
all kinds of crazy stuff. Oh, so here's a milestone, and I've never done this before, and I'm just going to keep on going with it. So, about my 15,000 steps a day. I was doing that 3 or 4 times a week, certainly during the week.
Yeah.
I nailed 50 days straight, including Thanksgiving.
Oh,
50 days straight.
50
New
days.
milestone. I'm going till 100. Going till 100 or more. And then we'll reevaluate. But I'm doing 100.
That's great. So rain, sleet, snow, whatever, you're out there.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's
I try to wait till the rain and the sleet stop.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I do a lot of walking in my house, which is not quite as fun, but I can do it. It's not as fun though.
Do we know?
But I like to get out there.
How many miles is that?
It's about 8-ish at least.
That's amazing.
8 to 9, depending on how big your steps are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but that's what I've been doing, and that's been my daily practice that I've been consistent with. I was doing a gallon of water for a while. That's a whole lot of water, by the way.
That is a lot.
It's a gallon of water, and even if you're supposed to drink, an ounce for every 2 pounds of your body weight, or maybe I even have the math backwards on that, but that's a lot of water.
A lot of water, right? So did you so tell me more why you stopped that?
Why I stopped the water? Because I was going to the bathroom a lot.
All the time, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was to the point where every time I had a pint of water, my water bottle, which I don't know where I had it, 16 ounces. I'm like, oh, I'd have that, and within 5 minutes, I had to go to the bathroom again because I had so much water in my system, and it was I would have to get up typically at 3 a.m, go to the bathroom, even if I didn't drink anything since like 8 o'clock. So I purposely did that. And it's like, oh man, this isn't good. So I scaled back my water a little bit.
Right. I can see why. Sure.
But that's not why we're here today. We're here about money.
Absolutely. That's right.
Because everybody loves talking about with Meredith, the money coach. You got to talk something financial.
Yeah, you do.
And so autonomy, financial autonomy. I pulled up the definition, so I'm going to put my cheaters on here so I can see the screen.
Sure.
Independence or freedom as of the will or one's actions, the autonomy of the individual. Or here's the good part. Here's the juice. Here's the meat. You ready? Mm-hmm. The condition of being autonomous, self-government, or the right of self-government. And I don't like this definition. So autonomy for me is basically doing whatever you want. That's why I was talking before. It's the whole be more you philosophy behind it is your own individual freedom and calling the shots in your life. And when you were talking about this financial insight, specifically budgeting, I'm like, oh man, yeah, that's the whole be more you. So please share with the audience your understanding and why these things are so important.
Well, thanks for asking. And because you're familiar with Dave Ramsey, you and your
family. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So you and your wife went through financial peace, paid off a significant amount of debt, if I recall. Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And how long ago was that?
Well, and so here's where we really were. We went broke, right? We were kind of like Dave Ramsey, where I had a bunch of real estate. I was loaded on paper. Until the real estate market shifted, I thought I was doing everything right. I was buying with, 10% of my own money in properties and, leveraging the rest and using debt. And, everybody was using debt in those days. There was no doc loans. And fortunately, we have a lot more regulation around it. But we went broke in our property standpoint. And we had to kind of start our financial position all over. I mean, I was planning on being retired by 40.
Wow. Really? Yeah.
and that wasn't the case.
No, exactly. Yeah. Next. Well, there's something better.
All of a sudden, I had, like $1 million in debt and no real ability to pay it. I blew through savings. We sustained that for a while, which was great, but we made a bunch of financial mistakes that it was tough mentally to recover from. Mm-hmm. And our financial advisor, Paul Liberty up in Chicago, he's not even at the time wasn't a huge Dave Ramsey follower, but he did mention that. He's like, this guy might have some tools to help you out. And I'm like, yeah. And a couple of years later, I found it, and we found it, and Michelle's right on. So it was great.
It's wonderful. And not to mention, you're a wonderful team, but it can be very stressful for marriages to go through something like that.
Yeah.
You're stressed out, so then she's stressed out, and then it begins the spiral, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. So for the viewers that aren't familiar, feel free to search Dave Ramsey. He's a big one on YouTube, but this is Dave Ramsey. So Dave Ramsey's here.
Yep.
His daughter Rachel, Chris Hogan. So they have a class called Financial Peace University, and Dave has been coaching literally millions and millions of people to get out of debt and live a life of financial peace and freedom for years. And to your point, he got himself into bankruptcy and then real estate and overextended, and then really looked at what scripture has to say about debt and about our money and what God wants us to do. And he's developed a very sustainable, provable system called the 7 baby steps. And you mentioned a budget. And so in talking about autonomy, right? So when so here are some statistics to paint a picture for you. 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 65% of people can't cover a $500 to $1,000 emergency. So something happens, they're digging themselves into a deeper hole with credit cards.
And that's not a lot. I mean, that's like a car repair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a trip to the emergency room.
Right.
I mean, for something minor.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly right. So our culture, because our culture has spent about 75 to 80 years believing the lie that debt can be used as a tool to build income. The banks preach it. It's all about if you look at the car commercials, it's about, this much payment for a new car, right?
Right.
The average car loan is like 5 or 7 years now. The average car payment is $550. I mean,
right.
It's just crazy, right? So we have a culture that's just taught the lie or is buying into the lie that payments are the way to live. Well, what happens with payments is then we spiral into debt. And so that's what creates the paycheck to paycheck, or the idea that, we get to the end of the month and we say, well, where did all the money go? Right? We're swiping. Yeah. We don't know. We don't have a budget. So what a budget does, or a cash flow plan, is just directs our money. It gives every dollar an assignment. So what I coach customers to do is to look at your income and look at our bills and create a zero-based budget so that the money that's left over doesn't just get blown. We actually give it an assignment. Yes. So in Dave Ramsey's program, as you're aware, baby step 1 is to build up $1,000 in an emergency fund. And so why do we do that? Well, for what we were talking about. Life's going to happen, right? Emergencies are going to happen. Flat tires, dryers go out, dishwashers go out, something happens to the dog, whatever it might be.
We had a refrigerator go out.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine.
It's like I had a friend, or like a friend of a friend, who the repairman, right? And he's like, well, I still got to charge you for the call no matter what. I'm like, well, of course you got to get paid for your job.
Right.
That service call is a $180 trip charge. And he told me, he's like, look, it's cheaper or better for you probably to buy a new refrigerator than me to repair it, because it's going to cost about $800 or $900 to repair on top of this visit. Or even if you'd include it. I'm like, oh my gosh, $800 or $900. But he's like, the problem is that the rest of the parts are still old. That's just the one part.
Oh.
And you can probably find, and we ended up getting a scratch and dent, very nice refrigerator still, but for a little bit more money, we have something that it's like, well, that'll probably last us for 5 years.
Absolutely.
Or longer.
Right. That's right. And that's the kind of thing that happened. And we need to be prepared because life happens, right? So the $1,000 is great. It gives individuals, families a peace of mind that there's $1,000 there, right?
Yep.
And then on top of that, we build a cash flow plan or a budget. Now, some people, I mean, when you hear the word budget, what do you think of?
Well, I can tell how I used to hear it.
Right. Yeah.
I used to think of budget as like, oh, I'm shackled. I'm like, I don't have enough money. So in Dave's terminology, I'm a free spirit, and I don't like to be shackled by restraints and rules and things like that.
No, right.
But that's how it occurred for me. But as I've actually practiced it with Michelle, and it took a long time for me to get there, right?
Yeah.
But now that's actually where the freedom lies in knowing what I can spend and what I can't spend.
That's right.
And, in the beginning, I remember this distinctly. We were on the cash envelope system, and, we didn't have credit cards. We had a debit card. It's like, oh, can't we just use our debit card? It's just coming out of there. It's all it balances. But yeah, no, you're shaking your head no. And that's exactly correct, because I would go to the grocery store or Costco or buy groceries and stuff. We have a family of 6. So it's like we buy a lot of food, and I like to eat. Yeah. So, and I do the grocery shopping.
You're right.
And it's like, right. Yeah, I have this, it is our lunch hour. And it's, there would be, we'd use up our envelope, and there'd be more months left except there's no money in the envelope.
Right.
So we had more months than money.
Yeah.
And that was eye-opening.
Yeah. It's food, right?
And well, it was eye-opening because we had always done it that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'd put it on a credit card or whatever. And it's like, or even if it was a debit card, because we used debit cards for a long time too. It's like thinking that was fine, but you don't, until we actually tracked it, you go back and do that budget. It's like, whoa, we were like hundreds of dollars more than we thought we were spending every month.
Exactly. And most people, that is a very common area where people overspend, because again, our culture we love to eat out. Every other ad is about food. There's groceries, all that kind of stuff. So a good budgeting guide for the viewers is anywhere from 10 to 15% of your take-home pay should be devoted to food.
Take-home pay.
Take-home pay. That's exactly right. So 10 to 15%, because I do talk to a lot of women and my clients or couples that say, how much should we be spending on food? So I have a food guide. There's different categories, and you can include food to be restaurants as well. But again, 10 to 15%. But the whole idea of a budget is to tell our money where to go. So a great budgeting tip is you look at your income that's coming in. And this works whether you have a regular income or an irregular income. A lot of viewers are in a commission-based situation or something like that. We always take care of the 4 walls first. So we always take care of the mortgage or the rent, so we don't get behind on our house payment, right? We keep the lights and the water on.
Yep.
We always have food in the budget, and we always look at transportation, which would include a car payment because we need to get to and from work, right?
Right.
So those are the 4 walls. And then we have other areas that we need to budget. Gifts. Oh, wow, it's December. Christmas happens the same day every year, and we need to budget for that, right?
Right.
But we spend, again, trillions of dollars going into debt instead of budgeting for January comes, there is a way to budget, and I coach on that, about how to budget have a gift fund, put those irregular expenses aside. So there are things that creep up on us that you can budget for every single month going forward, but we always have a new cash flow plan because there might be a birthday in January, right? And January might be a little bit more expensive than, say, March or April, right?
Right.
We have travel funds, we have things like that. But what they've done statistically, Sean, I want to mention is that so Dave Ramsey did the largest study of millionaires ever done. They researched 10,167 millionaires. And
wow.
Yeah. So
it's a lot of millionaires.
It's a lot of millionaires, right? And there's, I think, 1.1 million millionaires in the country. Probably.
Wow.
More.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So let's look at the behavior of what millionaires do. So they looked at them. They studied, what do you do? And, there are a lot of myths about being a millionaire, right? Oh, they got it as an inheritance, or it's a silver spoon baby, or they're highly educated, or they make 6 figures. So why do I share this? Almost every single one of the millionaires used a budget, right? So they're using a budget, and they didn't use debt to build wealth. So circling back to this whole idea of autonomy, we want to tell our dollars where to go, so that we can live with the freedom of not being chained to credit card debt, student loan debt, personal loan debt, right? So the
Right.
goal of what Dave teaches is to become, so we talked about baby step 1 of $1,000, baby step 2, cash flow plan,
Yep.
and then paying off all debt using the debt snowball. So you take the smallest bill all the way up to the largest. We're not including our mortgage in that, right? And we're
Right.
going to start snowballing our debt with paying the first one and then the next one and then the next one. So on another call, I can go into more specifics about that. And
Oh,
then
that'd be awesome.
once the debt is gone, then we build up a fully funded emergency fund. So pandemics now happen, right?
Certainly, yes.
Yeah, emergencies happen. We need to have
Right.
we need to have cash set aside in the event that we lose a job or we're shut down again or whatever the case might be. So we have a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months. That's the next thing that we work on once we're out of debt. And the baby steps 4, 5, and 6 are to invest for retirement, college funding, and then to pay the house off early. And then we can look at building wealth and giving it away, giving some of it away. Okay. So why do I say that? Well, you hit on a key thing in the beginning of the show. We want to think about where do we want, what freedom there is when I don't owe Bank of America $500 a month, when I don't have a car payment, right? When I can live and walk around with the integrity of being financially free and having the peace of mind of knowing that I can pay my bills every month, right?
Yeah.
That's truly autonomy, because then if you're in a job, like I had a job for a couple of months, a couple of years ago that I couldn't stand. I left one employer, I went to another. I was miserable. I was crying at the table.
Yeah.
And I thought, stop. And we were in a position now because my husband and I paid off $200,000 worth of credit card debt. Yeah. 16 credit cards in a second. So it was the 200,000 was 16 credit cards in a second.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole other show, right? This is why I'm so passionate.
Awesome.
But I've been there, right? He got all the debt in his divorce, and we together worked through the Ramsey program. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. So I had a job that I really didn't like. Guess what? I could cut the cord and go, I'm out of here, because I didn't have the chains of all those bills anymore. Right. So there's a lot of freedom that truly comes when we work the system that are proven by millions and millions of people and become debt free.
Yep. I heard that term called WHAM, or drop dead money. WHAM is walking around money, or in this case, it's walk away money.
Yes, exactly.
I'm walking. These boots are made for walking, and I'm not staying. What do you think of them apples?
Exactly.
You're not nice to me. I'm not going to cry no more. No more tears here.
Right. And,
which is very cool, but that's all about autonomy. So we're just going to get deeper dive into this. So let's say, Jenny, ready with the bumper. Let's stop here. But one thing I do want to, there was one awesome thought that I was going to share. Maybe it was just the WHAM, but I'm sure there was some other ones.
There's more.
Let's get a little more, keep going and do a little more stuff on this subject.
Okay.
That way we're not shoving people down, water out of the fire hose type of
right.
scenario.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. This is true.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Watch this and a couple other episodes, because I'm also going to talk about, Meredith, today is network marketing and some of the things that I'm involved in, and just some of the pitfalls as well as the reality of these things. But that's what I wanted to share. In the reality thing, this is one thing I've been saying on multitude of these shows, and it's about personal finance. And at the end of the day, it's always personal. And it begins with you, and that's part of the autonomy and be more you. You get to say what your autonomy and your personal finance is supposed to look like. I don't think if you really took an honest look back, you'd want it to be riddled with debt.
No, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's so true. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know there's gurus and people out there. It's like, oh, you can do all this stuff. Yeah, I tried it, and it didn't work.
That's right. Same. Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah, it really
99% of you, 99.999999999, you're better off without it. So,
right. And think what it does for your legacy and for your family too. That's the other
right. Whatever you want your legacy to be.
That's right.
All right. On that note, we'll stop, change, start in a moment. But everybody out there, Meredith, the money coach, always love having you on here. Meredith, where can they find more information about you? We'll put it in the contact notes down below. But where can you be found?
So Facebook, I have a group called Meredith's Money Matters. So please reach out that way. Send me, yep, love my group. And then send me a private message, or my phone is 314-724-1043. I'll send you a link, and the first, we can always just connect by phone.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Meredith. And thank you, Jenny, in the background. Get ready with that bumper. And hey, as I always say, we might not see you in person, but we're always going to see you right here on social media. Thanks for watching. All right. Good stuff. Can't wait for the next episode.